The message arrived at exactly 12:47 in the afternoon Earth time. It came through every communication channel known to humanity. Radio waves, satellite signals, internet servers, and even old television sets that had not been turned on in years suddenly flickered to life. The message was clear, translated into every human language, and delivered with the full weight of galactic authority. People of Earth, the message began, the Galactic Council has voted. Your species has been found guilty of 17 violations of interstellar law. You have polluted your atmosphere. You have created weapons of mass destruction. You have sent probes into space without proper authorization. The Council has decided. War has been declared. Prepare yourselves. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, located on a space station the size of a small moon, thousands of alien representatives watched their screens with satisfaction. They had done this many times before. They had declared war on dozens of species across the galaxy. The result was always the same: panic, fear, desperate attempts to negotiate. Sometimes the primitive species would try to fight back, but it never lasted long. The Council's fleet was the largest in known space. No one could stand against it. Ambassador was sitting in his small office in Seoul when the message came through. He was eating a bowl of the steam rising from the noodles and fogging up his glasses. His phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then it started buzzing continuously, like an angry bee trapped in his pocket. He put down his chopsticks and picked up the phone. He read the message. He read it again. Then he looked at his, which was getting cold. War, he said to himself, really, right now? He thought about it for a moment. Then he picked up his chopsticks and continued eating. The noodles were too good to waste. Across the world, the reaction was surprisingly similar. In New York, a businessman named glanced at the news on his phone while waiting for his coffee. He raised an eyebrow, muttered something about aliens being dramatic, and went back to checking his emails. In Tokyo, a young woman named saw the broadcast on a giant screen in. She took a photo of it, posted it online with a laughing emoji, and continued shopping. The governments of the world held emergency meetings. Presidents and prime ministers gathered their advisors. Military leaders were called in. Everyone looked very serious and talked very loudly. But there was something strange about these meetings. There was no real panic. No one was screaming. No one was crying. Instead, there was a lot of sighing. So, said the President of the United States, rubbing his forehead, aliens want to go to war with us. Does anyone have the file on this? An aide stepped forward with a thick folder. Sir, we have been preparing for this possibility for 60 years. Project Quiet Sky. It was started in 1965 after the first alien contact. First contact was in 1965. The president looked surprised. Why didn't anyone tell me? It's classified, sir. Very classified. The aliens came, made some threats, and left. We started building defenses after that, just in case. In Seoul, Ambassador finally finished his. He wiped his mouth with a napkin and checked his phone again. 300 missed calls, thousands of messages. Several heads of state wanted to speak with him immediately. He sighed deeply. He had been planning to take a nap after lunch. His assistant, a young man named, burst into the office. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. Sir, the aliens, they declared war. What do we do? Looked at him calmly. Have you eaten lunch yet? What? No, sir, but the aliens. Go eat lunch. You cannot think properly on an empty stomach. We will deal with the aliens after. Stared at him. But sir, they said they are going to attack us. They said they have a fleet of 10,000 warships. They said. His voice was gentle but firm. How long have humans been fighting each other? I don't know, thousands of years. Exactly, thousands of years. We have been fighting wars since we learned to pick up sticks and hit each other with them. We invented guns, bombs, tanks, and missiles. We created weapons that can destroy entire cities in seconds. We have been preparing for war every single day of our existence. He smiled. Do you really think some aliens with fancy spaceships are going to scare us? Did not know what to say. Go eat lunch, repeated. I recommend the restaurant on the corner. Their kimchi is excellent. In the Galactic Council's war room, the alien commanders were confused. They had been monitoring Earth's communications since the declaration. They expected to see chaos. They expected riots, governments collapsing, and desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, they saw something very different. They saw humans going to work. They saw humans eating at restaurants. They saw humans complaining about traffic. A popular topic on human social media was not the war, but a new song released by a famous singer. The war declaration was trending, but it was below a video of a cat falling off a table. "What is wrong with these creatures?" said one commander, his four eyes blinking rapidly. "Do they not understand what war means?" "Perhaps they are too primitive to understand the danger," suggested another commander. "Their brains may not be developed enough." "Or perhaps," said a third commander, her voice quiet, "they are not afraid because they have no reason to be afraid." The room went silent. On Earth, Ambassador finally left his office. He had a meeting with the other world leaders in 1 hour. He walked slowly, enjoying the fresh air and the warm sunlight. People around him were going about their daily lives. A woman was walking her dog. A group of children were playing in a park. An old man was reading a newspaper on a bench. Stopped and bought an ice cream from a street vendor. Vanilla, his favorite. His phone buzzed again. It was a message from the Galactic Council's representative. "This is your final warning. Surrender now or face total destruction." Looked at the message. He looked at his ice cream. He took a big bite of the ice cream. "Total destruction," he said to himself, smiling. "They really don't know who they are dealing with." He continued walking, enjoying his ice cream, as somewhere in space, 10,000 alien warships began their journey toward Earth. The humans hardly cared. They had faced worse. They had faced each other, and they were still here. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about humanity. They were about to learn that the most dangerous creature in the universe was not the one with the biggest weapons or the largest army. It was the one that looked at death and destruction and simply shrugged. The war had been declared, and humanity was not impressed. 3 weeks passed after the war declaration. The alien fleet traveled through space at speeds that would make human scientists jealous. They crossed star systems, passed by dying suns, and moved through asteroid fields without slowing down. 10,000 warships, each one the size of a small city, carrying millions of soldiers and enough weapons to turn planets into dust. The fleet commander was named. He was tall, even by alien standards, with skin and 6 arms that he used to gesture dramatically when he spoke. He had led the Council's military for 200 years. He had conquered 37 planets. He had never lost a battle. As Earth came into view on his screens, allowed himself a small smile. The blue planet looked so peaceful, so fragile. It would be easy. "All ships," he announced through the fleet-wide communication system, "take your positions around the planet. Do not fire until I give the order. Let them see our might first. Let them understand what they face." The 10,000 ships spread out in a perfect sphere around Earth. From the planet's surface, they looked like new stars appearing in the sky. Millions of humans looked up and pointed. Phones came out. Photos were taken. The internet was flooded with images of the alien fleet. "Pretty cool," said a teenager in Los Angeles, filming the ships with his phone. "This is going viral for sure." In a military base deep underground, General sat at a long table surrounded by officers from every major country. She was in her 50s, with short hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. She had spent her entire life preparing for this moment, even though she had hoped it would never come. An aide rushed in with new satellite images. "General, the alien fleet has completely surrounded us. Our estimates show approximately 10,000 ships, Each ship appears to be heavily armed. Looked at the images. She looked at them for a long time, then she yawned. So they brought their entire fleet, she said, sipping her coffee. Cute. The officers around her exchanged nervous glances. One of them, a young captain named, raised his hand. General, with respect, shouldn't we be more concerned? Their technology appears to be far more advanced than ours. Their technology is advanced, agreed. Their ships are impressive. But let me ask you something, Captain. Do you know why humans have never been conquered? Because no one has tried before. Wrong, because we do not know how to give up. She stood up and walked to a large screen showing a map of the world. For the past 60 years, since we first learned about alien life, every major nation has been secretly building defenses. We have satellites that can fire lasers powerful enough to cut through any metal. We have missiles hidden in every ocean. We have weapons that we have never told the public about because we hoped we would never need to use them. She pressed a button and the screen changed. It now showed a network of defense systems covering the entire planet. There were thousands of them. The aliens think they are surrounding a helpless planet, continued. They think we are primitive creatures who will surrender at the first sign of danger. They are wrong. They are very, very wrong. In space was growing impatient. It had been 6 hours since his fleet had arrived and there was no response from Earth. No messages of surrender, no pleas for mercy, nothing. Have they even noticed us? He asked his communications officer. Yes, Commander, they are definitely aware of our presence. Their satellites are watching us. Their radio signals are discussing us. And what are they saying? The communications officer hesitated. They are making jokes, Commander. Jokes? Yes. Apparently, a human comedian made a video about us. It has been viewed 50 million times. He called us oversized tourists with bad attitudes. Felt his blood pressure rising. He had destroyed civilizations. He had burned worlds, and these humans were making jokes about him. Open a channel to their leaders, he growled. I will speak to them directly. On Earth, the call came through to the emergency command center. General nodded, and the communication was accepted. His face appeared on the screen, all 6 of his arms crossed in what he hoped was an intimidating pose. Humans, he began, his voice deep and threatening, I am commander of the Galactic Council fleet. You have been surrounded. There is no escape. Surrender now and we will be merciful. Resist and we will destroy you. There was a long pause. Hello, said General, still sipping her coffee. Thank you for calling. Before we continue, I have to inform you that this call may be recorded for quality and training purposes. Blink to what? Also, we are currently experiencing high call volumes. Your estimated wait time is 300 years. Please hold. The line went silent, stared at the screen in disbelief. Did she just put me on hold? His officers nodded slowly. On Earth, General turned to her team. All right, fun time is over. Let's see what these aliens can really do. Activate all defense systems. Set them to standby mode. We will not fire first, but we will be ready. All around the planet, machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, missile silos opened their doors. In orbit, satellites shifted their positions and aimed their weapons. In underground bunkers, soldiers put on their armor and prepared for battle. The alien ships noticed none of this. Their sensors were good, but human technology had one advantage. It was designed by paranoid creatures who had spent thousands of years hiding from each other. Earth's weapons were hidden in places that no alien would think to look. Commander, said one of his officers, we are detecting some activity on the planet's surface. It appears they are preparing something. Preparing what? We are not sure. Our sensors cannot penetrate their defenses. Waved his arms dismissively. It does not matter. Whatever they have, it will not be enough. We have conquered species with technology far beyond theirs. These humans are nothing. But deep in his heart felt something he had not felt in 200 years: doubt. The humans were not behaving like conquered species. They were not running. They were not crying. They were sitting calmly, drinking their strange brown beverages and making jokes. Perhaps, thought to himself, I should have done more research about these creatures. On Earth, General finished her coffee and set down the cup. She looked at the screen showing the alien fleet surrounding the planet. 10,000 ships, millions of soldiers, more firepower than humanity had ever faced. She smiled. Let them make the first move, she said to her officers, and then show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The fleet hung in space, waiting. The planet waited below, seemingly peaceful, and somewhere in Seoul, Ambassador was taking a nap, completely unbothered by the thousands of warships above his head. The battle had not yet begun, but when it did, the galaxy would never forget it. Commander waited for 2 days, 2 days of silence, 2 days of watching the humans go about their normal lives as if nothing was happening. He watched them go to work, eat at restaurants, and argue about sports games. He watched children playing in parks while his warships floated above their heads. It was the most frustrating experience of his 200-year career. Enough, he finally announced to his fleet. They have had their chance to surrender. Now we will show them the power of the Galactic Council. All ships target their major cities, fire warning shots, destroy their landmarks. Let them see what we can do. The order went out. Across the fleet, weapon systems powered up. Massive cannons, each one capable of leveling mountains, aimed at Earth's surface. The aliens had used these weapons to terrify dozens of species. A single shot could create a crater the size of a city. The first shots fired. Bright beams of energy streaked toward Earth. They were aimed at famous landmarks: the Tower, the Sydney Opera House, the Great Pyramid of Giza. The aliens wanted to destroy symbols of human achievement, to break the spirit of the population. None of the shots reached their targets. High above the Earth, in a small spacecraft that looked more like a sports car than a military vehicle, a pilot named was watching his screen with mild interest. He had been up here for 6 hours, waiting for something to happen. He had almost fallen asleep twice. When the alien weapons fired, his defense system activated automatically. It had been designed decades ago by engineers who were probably long dead, had never actually seen it work before. Oh, he said, watching as invisible shields materialized around the planet, absorbing the alien energy beams like a sponge absorbing water. That's what that button does. He reached for his music player and scrolled through his playlists. He had been meaning to listen to that new album from his favorite singer. This seemed like a good time. On the surface of the planet, General watched the attack on her screens. The alien weapons were powerful, she had to admit, but the shields held. They held easily. General, reported one of her officers, the enemy has fired approximately 200 shots. All shots have been absorbed by our orbital defense network. No damage to any targets. Good. Any response from our systems? Yes, ma'am. Our automated counterstrike has been activated. General nodded. Let's see what 60 years of preparation looks like. In space, watched in horror as his fleet's attack failed completely. The shots that should have devastated Earth simply disappeared, swallowed by some invisible barrier. And then, the humans responded. It came from everywhere at once. From the planet's surface, from hidden satellites, from places that sensors had not even detected. Beams of light, missiles, and things that he could not even identify. They moved faster than his officers could track. Evasive action, he screamed. All ships evasive action. But it was too late for many of them. The first wave of human weapons hit his fleet before anyone could react. Ships exploded. Shields that had never been breached were torn apart like paper. In the first 30 seconds, lost 500 ships. How is this possible? he shouted at his officers. They were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be weak. No one had an answer. In his small spacecraft had finally found the album he was looking for. He put on his headphones and started bobbing his head to the music. Below him, on his control screen, he could see the battle happening. Enemy ships were being destroyed. Defense systems were firing automatically. It was all very dramatic. He tapped his foot to the beat and watched another alien ship explode. "Good song," he said to no one. The battle continued for 3 hours. The alien fleet, despite its size and power, could not break through Earth's defenses. Every time they tried a new tactic, the human systems adapted. It was as if the entire planet had been turned into a fortress. What the aliens did not know was that this was exactly what had happened. For 60 years, the world's governments had put aside their differences for one purpose: to prepare for this day. Every major power had contributed technology, resources, and minds. They had built defenses that no one thought they would ever need. And they had hidden everything. The missiles that were destroying alien ships came from launch sites hidden under mountains, beneath the ocean, and even inside fake buildings in major cities. The energy shields that protected the planet came from satellites disguised as space junk. The communication systems that coordinated the defense were buried so deep underground that nothing could detect them. The humans had been paranoid, and their paranoia had saved them. On Earth, life continued almost normally. The battle was visible in the night sky like a spectacular light show. People took photos and posted them online. News channels covered the fighting, but it was mixed with regular programming. Between reports about the battle, there were weather forecasts and cooking shows. A news reporter stood on a rooftop in Seoul, the flashes of distant explosions visible behind her. "As you can see," she said calmly, "our defense systems are performing exactly as designed. Military officials have asked citizens to remain calm and continue with their daily routines." In other news, a new restaurant has opened and our food critic will be reviewing it later in the program. In his command ship, could not believe what he was seeing. His fleet, the most powerful military force in the galaxy, was being defeated by a species that was still worried about restaurant reviews. "Commander," said his second-in-command, a younger officer named, "we have lost 3,000 ships. Another 2,000 are heavily damaged. The humans have not lost a single defense platform." "That is impossible," said, his voice barely a whisper. "The numbers do not lie, Commander. We are losing." Looked at the screen showing Earth. The blue planet hung in space, beautiful and peaceful. It did not look like a fortress. It did not look like a military power. It looked like exactly what it was: a small world full of strange creatures who argued about silly things and ate too much food. And yet it was defeating him. "Pull back," he ordered finally. "All ships pull back to a safe distance. We need to reassess our strategy." The alien fleet retreated, leaving behind the wreckage of 3,000 ships floating in Earth's orbit. It was the worst defeat in Galactic Council history. On his small spacecraft, watched the enemy retreat. He finished listening to his album and stretched his arms. It had been a long day, but not a particularly exciting one. The defense systems had handled everything automatically. He had barely needed to press any buttons. His radio crackled. "Pilot, this is ground control. Enemy is retreating. You are cleared to return to base." "Understood," replied. "Returning now. By the way, the new album from that singer, it's really good. You should check it out." There was a pause. "We just won a battle against an alien invasion." "I know, but the album is still really good." He turned his spacecraft toward Earth, leaving behind the burning wreckage of an alien fleet, and thought about what he wanted to eat for dinner. The humans had won the first battle, and they had hardly noticed. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species on every planet heard about what happened at Earth. The mighty Galactic Council fleet, the greatest military force ever assembled, had been defeated. Not destroyed completely, but beaten badly enough that it had to retreat. The reactions varied. Some species were shocked, others were terrified. A few, the ones who had been conquered by the Council long ago, felt something they had not felt in centuries: hope. On the Council's space station, there was chaos. Representatives were shouting at each other. Military commanders were being blamed. Politicians were trying to distance themselves from the disaster. It was exactly the kind of mess that happens when powerful people realize they have made a terrible mistake. Commander stood in the center of it all, his skin looking paler than usual. Half of his fleet was gone, 3,000 ships destroyed, another 2,000 damaged beyond repair, and he had achieved nothing. The humans were still there, still going about their lives, still making jokes about the aliens on their strange glowing screens. "How did this happen?" demanded the Council's president, a short, round alien with bright orange skin and too many teeth. "You said this would be easy. You said they were primitive." "They should have been primitive," replied, his voice tired. "Our intelligence reports said they had only left their planet a few decades ago. They should not have had this level of technology. They should not have been able to defend themselves." And yet they did. Yes, and yet they did. The Council spent 3 days arguing about what to do next. Some wanted to send more ships. Others wanted to negotiate. A few suggested that maybe, just maybe, declaring war on Earth had been a bad idea. Meanwhile, on Earth, the biggest topic of discussion was not the battle at all. "Did you hear about that actress?" said to her friend as they walked through a shopping district in Seoul. "The one who is dating that singer. Everyone is talking about it." "Oh yes, I saw the photos. They look so cute together." Above their heads, pieces of destroyed alien ships were still burning as they fell through the atmosphere, creating beautiful streaks of light across the sky. The two women did not look up. They had already seen enough explosions. Celebrity gossip was more interesting. The news channels tried their best to cover the battle, but they had a problem. There was not much to cover. The defense systems had worked automatically. No humans had died. No cities had been damaged. The entire war, so far, had been less destructive than a typical Tuesday traffic jam. "And now," said a news anchor with a professional smile, "let's go to our entertainment correspondent for the latest celebrity news." In a small cafe inn, Ambassador was having tea with several foreign diplomats. They had gathered to discuss the alien situation, but the conversation kept drifting to other topics. "The thing about these aliens," said the French ambassador, "is that they are very dramatic, all that talk about destroying us, so theatrical." "They remind me of my mother-in-law," joked the British ambassador. Everyone laughed. "But seriously," said, setting down his teacup, "what do we do now? They are still out there. They will probably try again." "Let them try," said the Russian ambassador with a shrug. "We have 60 years of weapons we have not even used yet. I am told we have things that would make their ships look like toys." In space was trying to understand his enemy. He had ordered his officers to collect every piece of information about humans that they could find. He read about their history, their wars, their technology. The more he read, the more confused he became. These creatures had spent most of their existence fighting each other. They had invented weapons specifically designed to kill their own kind in the most efficient ways possible. They had created bombs that could destroy entire cities, poisons that could kill millions, and machines designed for nothing but death. And yet they also created art, music, stories. They built beautiful buildings and grew gardens. They spent enormous amounts of time and resources on things that had no practical value at all, simply because they thought they were nice. "I do not understand them," admitted Tu. "They are killers and artists, warriors and dreamers. They destroy and create with equal enthusiasm. How can a species be so contradictory?" "Perhaps," said carefully, "that is their strength. They cannot be predicted because even they do not know what they will do next. Considered this, it was disturbing. On Earth, General was in a meeting with other military leaders from around the world. They were discussing their next steps, but the mood was relaxed. Coffee was being served. Someone had brought cookies. "The aliens will attack again," said. "They have lost face. They cannot go back to the council and admit defeat. They will try something different." "What do you suggest?" asked the American general. "We wait, we let them come to us. We have shown them our defense. Now they need to see our offense." "And what is our offense?" Smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Everything we have been hiding for the last 60 years. Back in space made a decision. He would not attack Earth directly again. Instead, he would try a different approach. He would send a message, a personal message. He would try to understand these strange creatures before he tried to destroy them. "Open a channel to Earth," he ordered. "I want to speak to their leader." The message went out. On Earth, it was received by a junior communications officer who was eating lunch at his desk. "Sir," the officer said to his supervisor, "the alien commander wants to talk to our leader." "Which leader? We have hundreds of them." He did not specify. The supervisor thought about it. "Send it to Ambassador. He has been handling the diplomatic stuff." Received the message while he was in the middle of a nap. He woke up, read it, and sighed. "They want to talk now," he said to himself. "After attacking us and losing, now they want to be friendly." He got up, stretched, and looked out the window. The sky was clear and blue. Birds were singing. It was a beautiful day. "Fine," he said. "Let's talk, but first I need more tea." Somewhere in space, Commander waited for a response. He had attacked Earth with the mightiest fleet in the galaxy. He had expected the humans to beg for mercy. Instead, they had defeated him, and now they were making him wait. He was beginning to suspect that these humans were very, very strange. He was absolutely right. The surrender came on a Tuesday afternoon. Commander arrived at Earth in a small shuttle, alone and unarmed. He had left the remains of his fleet far behind, floating in the darkness of space like broken toys. He had sent a message ahead, asking for permission to land. The humans had agreed, but they had made him wait 6 hours while they processed his request. Suspected they had made him wait just to annoy him. He was probably right. The shuttle landed in a field outside Seoul. It was a simple place, with grass and flowers and a small stream nearby. Not the kind of location where galactic empires usually surrendered, but was no longer in a position to complain about anything. A welcoming committee was waiting for him. Ambassador stood at the front, wearing a casual suit and holding a cup of tea. Behind him were several other diplomats, a few military officers, and a woman named who had been assigned to handle the actual paperwork of the surrender. Stepped out of his shuttle. He had never felt smaller in his entire life. This little planet, this tiny blue dot in a vast galaxy, had humiliated the most powerful military force in known space, and now he had to face the creatures responsible. "Welcome to Earth," said pleasantly. "How was your flight?" Stared at him. "You are making small talk. I came here to surrender and you are asking about my flight." "It seems polite. Would you like some tea?" For a long moment did not know what to say. Then slowly he sat down on a chair that someone had placed for him. "Yes," he said quietly, "tea would be nice." Brought out the paperwork. It was surprisingly simple. The Galactic Council agreed to end the war. They agreed to pay for the damage caused by their attack, which was mostly just the cost of cleaning up the destroyed ships floating in Earth's orbit. They agreed to never threaten Earth again. "That is it?" asked, looking at the documents. "You are not demanding revenge. You are not asking for our territory, our technology." "Why would we want your territory?" asked. "We have enough trouble managing our own planet and your technology," he smiled. "Let's just say we have our own toys." Handed a pen. He signed the document slowly, his 6 arms trembling slightly. He had signed many treaties in his long career, treaties of conquest, treaties of domination. This was his first treaty of defeat. "There," said, taking the papers back. "All done. You are now officially not at war with Earth. Congratulations." She said it while filing her nails, which found strangely insulting. "I must ask," said, his voice heavy with confusion, "why are you not more satisfied? You have defeated the Galactic Council. You have proven that Earth cannot be conquered. This is the greatest victory in your species' history, and yet you act like it is just another day." "Thought about this for a moment. Have you ever studied human history, Commander?" "I have read some of it. It seems very violent." "It is. We have fought thousands of wars. We have killed millions of our own kind. We have survived plagues, famines, and disasters that should have ended us many times over. And through all of it, we kept going. We kept building. We kept dreaming," sipped his tea. "Your fleet was impressive. Your weapons were powerful, but we have faced worse. We have faced ourselves. Compared to that, you were not very scary." Sat in silence for a long time. The words sank into his mind like stones into water. "I think," he said finally, "the Council made a very big mistake." "Yes," agreed. "You did, but we do not hold grudges. You are welcome to visit Earth as tourists in the future. We have some very nice restaurants." The surrender ceremony ended quietly. Returned to his shuttle and flew back to his remaining fleet. He would return to the Council and explain what had happened. He would tell them about the humans, about their strange combination of violence and kindness, their impossible confidence, their complete lack of fear. He doubted they would believe him, but that was not his problem anymore. On Earth, life returned to normal almost immediately. The news covered the surrender for about a day, then moved on to other stories. There were elections coming up. A popular television show had a controversial ending. A new type of food was trending. The alien invasion was already becoming old news. General retired 6 months later. She had spent her entire career preparing for a war that lasted only a few weeks. In her retirement speech, she thanked her colleagues and the generations of workers who had built Earth's defenses. "We prepared for the worst," she said, "and when the worst came, we were ready. That is what humans do. We survive." Pilot became briefly famous when a video of him listening to music during the battle went viral. He was invited to talk shows and asked to give interviews. He declined most of them. "I did not really do anything," he said. "The machines did all the work. I just picked the playlist." Ambassador continued his work, handling the new diplomatic relationships that emerged after the war. Several alien species, inspired by Earth's victory, began to question the Council's authority. Some reached out to Earth for alliances, handled each conversation with patience and humor, always offering tea to his visitors. The young woman who had been shopping during the alien declaration started a blog about fashion and entertainment. It became very popular. She mentioned the aliens exactly once, in a post about how she hoped they would bring better fashion to the galaxy. And somewhere in space, the story of Earth spread from planet to planet. The tiny blue world that had defeated the Galactic Council. The strange creatures who had looked at destruction and shrugged. The species that had spent thousands of years preparing to fight themselves and had accidentally become unbeatable. The galaxy had learned a lesson that day. They had learned that size and power meant nothing against a species that refused to be afraid. They had learned that the humans were not primitive or weak, but something far more dangerous. They were survivors. No one ever threatened Earth again. The humans hardly noticed. They were too busy arguing about politics, watching entertainment, and eating at new restaurants. Life went on. It always did. And in a small cafe in Seoul, Ambassador sat by the window, drinking his tea and watching the sky. Sometimes he thought about the aliens, about the war, about the future of humanity in a galaxy full of strange creatures. But mostly, he just enjoyed his tea. That was the human way. Face the impossible, defeat it, and then move on to the next thing. The universe was vast and full of wonders. Earth was just getting started. The end.